What's going on, everybody? It's Azazel2012. I'm back with you again for another Ticked Off Tuesday, this time on Carrier. It's the first half of a domination game where I do pretty well in the first round, but in the second round I kind of choke it up a little bit. I still do well in the second round, but not nearly as well as I do in the first. So, who cares? Let's get to it. The last time that I talked about sports on Ticked Off Tuesday, I lost a pretty big number of subscribers for one video. Also, I got some explanations as to why I lost those subscribers. And let me put it to you very bluntly. It's because people get very butthurt about sports. Okay? This isn't serious. Yeah, granted, the stuff I may think it's kind of silly or something, but it's not serious. If it was serious, I would find a better way to approach it, okay? The majority of my Ticked Off Tuesday videos are of a silly nature, or just to kind of poke fun at something. You know, kind of satire, I guess you could say. However, I do approach some serious topics which have happened here recently, but this is a little bit on the silly side. So for those of you who end up unsubscribing because I talk shit about sports, good riddance to you because you don't know how to take a joke. Just saying. So this week I'm talking about fantasy football. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about fantasy football. Yes, I'm going to hurt your feelings if you love fantasy football. I'm going to make fun of you for playing fantasy football. I'm going to make fun of you for making fun of other people who do things because you play fantasy football. That's what I'm going to do this week. Let's get to it. First and foremost, let me go ahead and tell you what fantasy football is. Fantasy football is Dungeons and Dragons for jocks that don't know how to use dice. That's what fantasy football is. You're doing the same exact thing that kids do and adults do when they play Dungeons and Dragons. That's what you're doing. You are building this fantasy team. You are building stats to help you win something. And then somebody will come and say, but it's for money. Not all of them. Not all of them are for money. In fact, most of it, from what people say, it's just for fun. It's just for the competition. Like, what competition? From what I've seen and what I understand, there's not a whole lot of real skill to it other than pulling and playing certain players. There's a draft. They call it fantasy football because that's what it is, because none of you will ever own a football team. You'll never actually be a part of a football team in a way where you would make decisions, so it's the best you got. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with you having some sort of fantasy about a sport. Groovy, good for you. But I think it's ridiculous, because people flip out over some fantasy football. I see people on Facebook fighting each other about it. I see people face to face. I have friends, very close friends, who will straight out have arguments, fights over fantasy football. And it is the dumbest thing in the world. And you know what? People do the same thing over video games and shit like that. I understand. But this is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Shut up, Too Strong. I'm talking here. And I just want to say to you, you need to calm what is called the fuck down. It's just football. You don't actually play for the team. If you do win the fantasy football league, you're probably not going to win that much money. Most of it's for bragging rights. So you really are just playing the sports version of D&D with a whole lot less math in it. And let's face it, there's not very much math because the majority of people who do fantasy football, it's done for them automatically through some sort of fantasy football application on the computer or something like that. Just get wrecked. And that's what I have to say about it. I'm okay with sports, but people take it way too seriously, way too sensitive about it. People get so hurt about sports, and when it comes to fantasy football, they get straight ridiculous about it. It is insane how fucking sensitive. So, ladies and gentlemen, especially the gentlemen, suck it up, grow a pair of testicles, just fix some nachos and some wings on American Football Day, get your fantasy football team together, brag to your friends about the win that you get that doesn't mean anything. And by the way, I'm lying. Really, I just want you to shut the fuck up. I do appreciate you guys watching. This round is going to be winding down here in just a moment as I get the last kill cam here in just a second. I do appreciate all the support that you guys have been showing me here lately. I'll have some more videos later on this week. And as far as everything else goes, well, fuck fantasy football. Thank you guys. I appreciate you watching. It's been Azazel2012. Take it easy.
I'm out. halftime.